It's Friday, first pitch, last show of the weekend. I've got a busy weekend and I'm excited. Beautiful weather today in Toronto. I'm the Prez. Bryan, Leonard with us like every Friday. And of course, my regular co-host, the great Dave Cokin. Bryan, what's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing fine. Tough loser last night. I had the Miami under. And, you look really good for a long time, and then once you get into the bullpens, and we've talked about that all season, so I guess I shouldn't complain.
Dave Cokin, another winner last night, Miami Marlins. You did lose your 3% play, but a profitable night, and the run continues.
Because, you plus 170, when that gets there, that makes the cash register ring. So that was and that was in the Marlins game. Crazy game, by the way. But Zach Gallen pitched extremely well for the Marlins. They've got some good young arms on that team. What they don't have is anybody who can pitch in the bullpen. And what a wild finish to the game. A pinch running pitcher, Jack Flaherty, gets picked off second base. He was the tying run in the bottom of the 11th inning. And that was a happy ending for me. Not so good for the Cardinals.
Well, congratulations. A nice win, a plus 170 dog. I said it was nice weather in Toronto today. I just left Vegas, and man, I tell you, I don't know how you guys can deal with it. Those doors open of the casino and you walk outside, it's literally like entering an oven.
I like it because they freeze you out in the casino, so I love to come outside so I can thaw out a little bit.
Yeah, it is cold when you're playing poker. I was wearing a sweatshirt. Dave, you're wearing the baby blues today.
And nobody cares.
I do. You always?
Okay, well, you do, but I don't even, I had to look myself. I don't give a shit.
What do you mean? How do you say that when your hat always matches your shirt?
I just want to. I'm here to talk baseball. Nobody gives nobody cares what I'm wearing.
Oh well, dude. I can't do a show where all we talk is baseball. I have to talk
it's a baseball show.
Yeah, I have to talk a little bit of nonsense. Okay, fine. We'll get straight into it. We won't even talk about anything.
That way, the thing doesn't last for 58 minutes, and people actually who are coming here to watch baseball or find out about today's baseball schedule actually get to find out about the baseball schedule.
So we shouldn't talk about the fact that you commented on a YouTube post last night.
I did. Now that you can mention because it's pertinent. It's pertinent to what we're talking about.
Yeah, except I was going to ask you if what you're wearing is if you have like a good luck hat, keep the streak alive color.
No. There's no luck balance. Luck is 50-50
right.
In the long haul. It's of no consequence. You're going to win some lucky games. You're going to lose some lucky games. Maybe some people are luckier than others. That I don't know. I don't think there's anything scientific on that. So I don't care about that stuff.
Okay, then shall we just go? Philadelphia tonight, 4 games above 500, hosting Miami. Yeah, we already spoke about the Miami game. 7-6 winner against St. Louis. They've won 2 of their last 3. Huge dog tonight. Plus anywhere from 180 to 190 with an over and under of 8. Dave, I'll go to you first. What do you like in this game?
The number's high, but I don't know what Miami's lineup is going to look like tonight. Cooper left the game last night. His bicep or tricep, I think it's a triceps, flared up. Rojas got hurt late in the game, and they had to actually move him. Were out of position players, so they had to keep him in the game. So they moved him to first base and put Rivera at shortstop at the bottom of the 11th. Somebody else got dinged up last night, who's I'm blanking on right now. This is not a lineup that can afford to be losing guys. So it could be a real scrap heap lineup from Miami tonight. That's not good for them. Phillies should win this ball game, and even at a high price tag, that's the side I'd look at.
Alcantara versus Nola. Bryan, Alcantara has had a good season so far and a great last 3 games. Dave likes Philly. I think the better pitcher is on Miami. Are they live at all?
As Dave pointed out, the only thing is, does Miami really have anybody in that offense that is worthy of mentioning when they're not playing? They got a couple decent young hitters, but it's all pitching for Miami. Alcantara has been very good, as you mentioned. The concern I have for playing Miami here is you take a look at Aaron Nola against Miami. Last 5 starts, average game score is 64. They've all been 50 or better, and league average is 50. So you've got one of the weakest offenses in baseball going against a guy who's pitched traditionally well against you. But as we know, that Nola's having a down season here. But if I had to play it, I'd probably play the under. It's probably the way I would look.
And now we've got the San Diego Padres, winners of 4 in a row, just swept Milwaukee. Great game last night, 8-7 winner. They're playing Pittsburgh tonight. Pittsburgh's a small favorite, -120, give or take. The over and under in this game is 9. Bryan, I'll go to you first. Pittsburgh, they just beat Detroit 8-7 as well. Very rare, 2 teams coming in the next game, both off of the same score. Lauer versus Musgrave, where are we going?
I think I would lean with the road dog here. You take a look at what, Lauer's a left-handed pitcher. Pirates are only 6-11 on the season against lefties compared to 27-29 against righties. Not a huge fan of either pitcher. Musgrove has struggled mightily last time out. He had a 21-game score against Atlanta. It was the second time in a row he played against Atlanta. Actually, third time. Come to think of it, 3 times in a row, Musgrove went up against Atlanta. Game scores 21, 51, 65. So by the third time they saw him, they were hitting him pretty well. San Diego this year, Lauer with a 41 in his only appearance against Pittsburgh. Not a big fan of either one of these, but I think based on the way Pittsburgh has hit lefties, slight value on the Padres. Don't know if I'll get there.
Dave Cokin, what are your thoughts?
Not much. I think it's priced about right. Padres certainly have more momentum right now. You mentioned that the Pirates finally had something go right. Nice comeback in their last game, which was on Wednesday. They didn't play yesterday. Neither did the Padres. But the Padres have got a lot of momentum right now. And again, we talk about this all the time. It's a recency sport. You like having those hot teams. Padres feeling pretty good about themselves. I don't like either pitcher here. Lauer has been really bad on the road, actually. And as Bryan mentioned, Musgrove just isn't pitching well. So there's a good chance this gets into the bullpens, which I think does favor San Diego. But there's really not enough value here for me to consider taking the Padres. $1.10 is about the right price. And actually, as we're talking, I'm seeing a little bit of a bump right now, right at the moment on the Pirates. It's going up a few cents. If it gets high enough, maybe I'll look at the Padres, but I doubt it.
Talk about 2 teams going in the opposite direction. Yanks have won 6 in a row, beat Houston in their last game, and Houston lost 5 in a row. Tonight we've got the Yankees as a favorite, minus around 165. The over and under in this game is 9.5. And Peacock versus Paxton, both pitching, their numbers are very, very similar. Although Paxton's had a rough time his last 3 outings. Dave, what do you like in this game?
It's high. I'm not seeing it quite as high as you are. I'm seeing more 155-ish. But you want to get in the Yankees' way right now? No thanks. And the Astros have lost, 5 in a row now, so they're not exactly a go with. You're going to have to, if you want the Yankees, you're going to have to accept the fact that you're just going to have to pay a premium or a penalty, if you want to call it that, to bet them. But until they show some signs of cooling off, highly unlikely I'm going to be trying to stand in their way. So they're just a better baseball team right now. If I had to play it, even though the value is clearly to me on the other side, I'd still look at the Yankees.
Bryan, where are you going in this one?
Yeah, I think the line's too high here. I take a look at the last 7 starts. Paxton's a 52 game score. Peacock's a 57. Peacock's never gotten a lot of press. He's one of those guys that people don't seem to want to bet on as opposed to the other Houston pitchers. Take a look at what Houston's done this year against lefties, 16-5. You're catching them as a sizable underdog, probably as big as underdogs you'll see Houston this year. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm eyeing the Houston side.
He's Bryan Leonard. I'm the Prez. Dave Cokin with us. You're watching First Pitch Monday to Friday at our YouTube channel, Wager Talk TV. Atlanta back in action. This team is playing to the over. They're playing Washington, and Washington is on fire right now. They have won 4 in a row. They just swept Philadelphia. They are a minus anywhere from 145 to 150 favorite, and the over and under is 9 in this game. Bryan, I'll go to you first. I like the over in this game. I like the over in every Atlanta game, even with Strasburg on the mound.
Keuchel going for Atlanta today. Is that what you have, Dave?
Yeah. He's going to be fired up.
Yeah, Keuchel going today. The fired up is what I'm going to point at here. Is you got a guy who hasn't pitched in the league all season long. Totally excited to pitch in this matchup. When you have a flamethrower type of pitcher, he's going to be a little bit wild. And Keuchel's one of those guys who doesn't get many strikeouts anyway. You know he's not going to have his full control. He just hasn't. He's pitched well in the minors so far in his starts, but going up to the major leagues, I don't want to back him here. Strasburg's been very good. Strasburg, I went back and looked when he doesn't have a league average game, when he's below, has a league average start like he did last time out against Arizona. He had a 29. He's been excellent in these games right after he's had a bad start. So you're going to get the best out of Strasburg here. I prefer that side. I think it's a little bit cheap at this point.
Dave, you agree?
Yes, sort of. I made the line a little bit higher. I made it 150. But I don't want to get in Keuchel's way here. I think if this was somebody else, maybe, but this guy's, he's a real polished veteran, and I think he's going to be excited out there to prove a point, and he's not going to go deep in the game anyway. I might be watching this one to see if I can get some early information and maybe take a shot in game. But I don't really know what to expect from Keuchel here. I'm just guessing, and I don't like guessing. So it's not a game that has any possibility to be on my card.
Toronto Blue Jays versus the Red Sox. The Jays are just in a free fall. This team is really, really bad. Boston 41-35 on the season, putting together a nice little run. Toronto won yesterday 7-5. I told everyone to bet the over. And Boston has won 7 of their last 8 games, including a 9-4 win against Minnesota, and they beat Minnesota in Minnesota 2 of the 3 games. Dave, I'll go to you first. Gigantic, massive favorite here, minus 3 million. Over and under is 8.5. What do we do in this type of game?
You just skip it and move to the next one. The Red Sox are red hot. They're playing the best ball of the season. The only loss in that stretch was the 17-inning marathon at Minnesota, which they led twice late and let get away. They're rolling right now. The Blue Jays stink. They're off an exciting walk-off win. Thornton versus Sales, kind of a mismatch on the mound. It's clearly a game Boston should win, but what are you going to do with it at $3.30 or $3.60, $3.70?
Bry?
Yeah, I agree. If I had to play it, I'd probably look at the Toronto team total under. Chris Sale, his last 3 starts, game score is 93, 78, 61. He's on his game. But last time he pitched against Toronto, he only had a 31. That was back in April. Back then, we all know how Sale started. I think there's a little chip on his shoulder for the teams to beat up on him early in the season. I'm probably going to play the Toronto game under. I haven't looked at what the numbers are, but if it's what I'm looking for, that may be a good play.
Cleveland won 5 of their last 7 games, putting together a nice run. They're playing Detroit. Detroit has lost 5 of their last 6 games. We got Cleveland at somewhere around minus anywhere from 185 to 200. The over and under is 7.5 in this game. It's Boyd versus Bauer. Bauer's pitched well of late, and Boyd's had a good season. I'm looking for this game to go under, but I hate betting under 7.5 in the American League. Dave?
Yeah, and the number's beat up anyway, because it was 8.5 with the under, small juice on the under, and now it's 7.5. So you really, the under market has already taken its stance here, and if you bet an under 7.5 on a game that opened 8.5, you're making a bad bet.
Of course,
you might win. You might win it, but it's a bad bet. So let's look at the side. Boyd he's been solid all year for the Tigers, and just on that, this line is probably too high. Probably should be more in the 160 range. The Indians, be interested to see how the Indians react to what was a very poor performance yesterday. I know the final score was only 4-2, so it doesn't seem like it. But if you watch that game, the Indians were mentally checked out in that game. They'd already finished their road trip before the game even started. Jose Ramirez didn't run out a pop-up with a man on first and 1 out. Texas guy let it drop on purpose. Easy double play. It was actually the identical play to what happened with the Phillies a couple weeks ago, and that was the play McCutchen got hurt in the rundown because a teammate didn't hustle. And what really bothers me is that Francona did not take Jose Ramirez out of the game at that point. You gotta be the boss and not be afraid of embarrassing the guy. It would have embarrassed him. He deserved to be embarrassed. Ramirez is a complete liability on that team right now. This is a guy who was an MVP candidate going into the season. He's hitting about 200. His defense has been spotty. The only thing he's done is steal bases. I don't know what the state of the Indians team is. When I see something like that, you know that even though there were no public statements, there's going to be some teammates who are really upset with Ramirez. And that's the type of thing that, to me, can send a team in the wrong direction. I would not be backing the Indians at this price. Even with the negative, and it's why I won't play the game, is Bauer seems to have gotten himself back on track. Off a complete game shutout last time out. He's back in really good form, and he could dominate this Detroit lineup. I think that's got a lot to do with why the game was bet under, and I think that was the play in this game, but it's not now.
Bryan?
Yeah, I'm an Indians fan. I watch a lot of their games, and I agree with Dave. I haven't liked what's been going on with the managers making bad decisions all year. He hasn't brought up the young talent. This is not a team who's going to make the playoffs. I think they're a game and a half out of the wild card, but this isn't a playoff team. It is the first game back from a road trip for Cleveland, and they have hit lefties well. They're 14-9 against lefties this year. But Bauer, as you said, has found himself. But, that shutout you talked about was against Detroit. And usually if a team doesn't fare well against a pitcher, you expect – I tend to want to play the team to bounce back against that pitcher because you've seen them, just 5 days ago. So I think I'm going to sit this one out. And as Dave said about another game, I think you'll learn something by watching the Indians game tonight.
Bryan Leonard with us. He's with us every Friday. Excited to have you. Texas against the White Sox. Texas 40-35 on the season, up 15 units of money for their customers, betting them on the money line blind, up 16 on the run line. They're hosting the White Sox, which are only 2 games below 500 and up units on the season. Betting-wise, Texas minus anywhere from 141 to 154 at one place, although that's an anomaly. The over and under is 11.5. Look, both pitchers, Lopez and Urado, not having the best season, terrible in their last 3 starts. This game suggests an over, except I don't like that play. I can't bet over 11.5, even in Texas or Colorado. It's an outright pass for me. Bryan, where are you going?
Yeah. I'm not confident in either one of these pitchers. I'm going to sit this one out. I can't really find anything worthy of a wager in this one.
Dave?
Yeah, it's the right price. I made it 135. It's sitting right there. Urado hasn't been real good lately. I think they've gotten a lot of mileage out of him, unexpected mileage. This was not a guy who projected to be in their rotation at the start of the season, and he moved in basically because of injuries and ineffectiveness of guys like Shelby Miller. So he's been a pleasant surprise, I guess you could call it that. But I think the hitters are starting to figure him out at this point. His upside just isn't that strong. He doesn't have great stuff. I've said this many times, so it's repetitive. I know that. But Reynaldo Lopez is a relief pitcher. He's not a starter. The White Sox continue to insist that he's a starter. When they finally decide that, well, he's only got a fastball and one other pitch that's okay, they'll move into the bullpen at that point, and he could actually become a dominant piece to the bullpen later in his career. But as long as he's a starting pitcher, he's a guy I'm either looking to go against or leave alone. And I'll leave alone here because I'm not going to lay this kind of a price with the Rangers team that's still short-handed. But Texas is, in effect, the opposite of the team we just talked about, the Indians. The Rangers are getting the absolute max out of their roster. Good managed team, well-managed team who really, they play hard every game. And they're overachieving. I mean, this is a team that shouldn't be 40 and 35 with what they've got, but they are. I don't like going against teams like that. The problem is the value has been sucked out of the Rangers at this point because the numbers have just caught up to how they're overachieving. So you'd have to pick your spots with Texas. I would like them more in spots where they're an underdog and perhaps can offer some value as opposed to a mid-range favorite like this.
Yesterday, guys, I told you to bet the Marlins and the Reds on in a money line parlay, and that paid really well. And the Reds just continued to roll. 5 wins in a row now, and last night's game against Milwaukee went under the total again. This time, not because of the Reds' bats, but because of Rourke, the starter. 7-1 win against Milwaukee. I think that's on a 16-1 run to the under for Cincinnati. Milwaukee lost 4 in a row, including a sweep in San Diego, and this team is just not feeling it right now. Cincinnati plus 111-ish, over and under is 8.5, and you know, I like Cincinnati again, not as much as I like the under. I'm just going to keep riding the Cincinnati under. Sonny Gray on the mound tonight had a really consistently upper middle class season, if you will, against Chase Anderson. Dave, what do you like?
I don't like the Brewers. They're in a funk right now. They're not playing well. They had a bad series at San Diego where they got swept, returned home from the road trip, and as often happens with teams returning home, did not have a good first game. Chase Anderson, I don't think is particularly reliable at this point. Sonny Gray, look, if he's getting his breaking ball where he wants it, he's very good. And if he doesn't get his breaking ball where he wants it, he gets crushed. But the Brewers aren't crushing many people right now. The market's betting the Brewers, but they did that yesterday too, and it didn't work out very well. So I wouldn't pay a lot of attention to that. I think the number actually is getting to the point now. If it keeps going up, I didn't have a play on this, but if it keeps going up, I might end up taking the Reds just on what I think is going to be value, because to me this is kind of a pick-em game at this point. And you know, plus 110, 115, maybe not enough to get real excited, but if it gets to plus 120, I might take a shot with the Reds at that point.
Mr. Leonard.
I'm not so sure the Reds aren't the better team here. On the season, the Reds are 3 games under 500. The Brewers are 5 games up. So there's basically a 4-game differential in the standings. But when you take a look at the Reds in one-run games and extra inning games, they're -6 on the season, while Milwaukee's +6. It all comes down to Josh Hader. When Josh Hader's in that game, it's tough to beat Milwaukee, but they've got to get the lead in order to get him in there to take advantage of that. I'm not a Chase Anderson fan, and as long as Cincinnati's an underdog here, I think there's some value on him here. I like Cincinnati beginning of the season. I liked them when they started poorly. I still like them. I think there's value to play on the Reds here.
Minnesota Twinkies playing in Kansas City. They lost last night 4-1. They find themselves a minus anywhere from 160 to 185, but that's an anomaly. Favorite on the road. 10.5 is the number. Prez versus Jacob Junis. I think the under is in play here, and I do like the Twins, and I like them on the run line as well. They're the away team, and we are going to get money in that spot. That's where I'm leaning. Brian, what do you think?
The Minnesota Twins offense has been record-setting this year. I mean, it's just, we knew they were going to have a good offense, but it's fade time for the Minnesota Twins, and it's starting to show. You go back to the last 4 games, they scored a total of 9 runs in the last 4 games against Kansas City and Boston. The offense is not playing very well right now, and you could see it. They just set the bar so high. Everybody's buying into that. Everybody's betting them on the run line every game. Team totals over. They're a very good offense, a terrific offense, but they're not a record-setting offense. And I think we can make some money fading the Twins here. Jacob Junis is a guy who, when he's on, he's very good, but he's not on all the time. And that's what you get, an average major league pitcher out of him. He's been about average against the Twins his last 5. Perez is one of the few teams that didn't solve him, or solved him a little bit this year, was Kansas City. He had a 50 when he faced them earlier this season. But he's starting to have some regression. Perez was one of those guys that found a new pitch, and he came out and nobody saw that he had it, and they struggled. Well, now it's gotten around. Teams have played him before, so there's a little bit of regression coming for the Minnesota Bats as well as Martin Perez.
I agree. I mean, I agree that Minnesota's a bet against team. I just don't think that's the case tonight. Dave?
I think the value here is clearly with the Royals. Martin Perez is now overpriced. It's what Bryan said. He was underpriced early in the year because everybody was still looking at the old Martin Perez numbers, which were really bad in his Rangers days. But he did find a new pitch, a cutter, and it was really, really working early in the season, getting a lot of swings and misses, and he had batters really messed up. But either the pitch isn't as effective now, or he's been solved to some extent because he's going in the wrong direction. The Twins are finally going a little bit in the wrong direction. I don't know that it's going to be a lengthy slump, but they're not go with right now. The Royals, for one of the few times this season, actually are in a good stretch for them. They're a bad baseball team, but they are bringing up some of the guys who they hope are their future and are getting them some playing time, and that can be a positive in short stretches for a team. I wouldn't be surprised if you get an upset here with the Royals.
Dave, how is Waka still pitching, starting for St. Louis? I mean, this guy... What?
They don't have anybody else.
Just a disaster line for him. 60 innings pitched, 6 ERA, and his last 3 starts are even worse. Facing Canning tonight. St. Louis lost, as we spoke about, to Miami last night, 7-6. The Angels, though, they've won 7 of their last 10 games. They're a minus 110, 115 favorite on the road. The over and under here is 9.5. I cannot go near Waka. I'm passing on this game, but I do think there is value on the Angels.
So I'll take a quick moment to talk about why the one thing I don't like about MLB Network.
One?
They don't criticize anybody. Okay? They just, everybody is doing a great job. And if you watch them and follow the media trail, if you will, nobody says anything negative about this Cardinals organization. And the fact is, their general manager is one of the worst in baseball. He's terrible. Okay, he's put together a clunky roster. Their pitching is dismal at this point. They've got a couple of good young arms, but it's not really good. They're just not that good. This is going to be 4 years in a row they missed the playoffs, because this is not a playoff team, in my opinion. Waka there's not much they can do about this. He just went bad. Combination of injuries and maybe getting caught up to because I don't think he was ever quite as good as people were making him out to be. Mostly a two-pitch guy, and two-pitch guys don't have a real long shelf life as starting pitchers in the majors. Walker he did have a positive performance out of the bullpen to end his slump, and then he had a good start. But his last start, he went right back to the same problems again, was giving up some hard contact, a couple balls went over the fence. And this roster, as it's presently comprised, is not a roster that's going to do well against power pitching righties. They've only got two real lefty hitters, Carpenter, who's having a terrible season, and Colton Wong, who's an okay player, but that's what he is. The rest of them are righties, so they don't have a lot that they can plug in. There's some defensive holes. The bullpen, they gave this awful contract to Andrew Miller, which they're going to have to eat because he can't get people out right now. They're just not very good. And they're not awful. I mean, they're going to be a 500 team. But I don't see a lot of upside. And Walker is a guy that you want to go against. Also, factor in this, Griffin Canning has already proven that he belongs in the big leagues. This kid can pitch. Love the walk-to-strikeout ratio. When you see that with a young pitcher, it means he's not intimidated, not nervous, a guy who can really go out there with confidence. And this is going to be a fun night in St. Louis because it's the return of Albert Pujols. First time back in St. Louis since he left the Cardinals. I think he's going to be really excited about it. His teammates should be as well. They're playing the better baseball. Yeah, I agree with what you said, my long way of saying what you said quickly, which is that the Angels look like the right side here.
Bryan, what do you think?
I agree. Dave talked about Griffin Canning. His last 4 games, a 25-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Wow. He's had the one bad start against Baltimore. He walked 4 batters, but other than that, 2 or less in just about every game, I believe. Michael Walker came back from the DL, and he looked good against Miami. He has a 64-game score, 6 innings of shutout ball. Then he goes and plays the Mets, who are up and down every day with that offense. So, yeah, Walker's one of those guys that, unfortunately, he may have peaked early, and we won't see the old Michael Walker again.
San Francisco Giants, what a game last night, Dave. I mean, we expected Madison to pitch really well. That did not happen. 3.2 innings pitched. The game ended up 9-8 for L.A. San Fran's lost 3 in a row. Arizona's lost 4 in a row. Samardzija versus Clark. And, I'll just bottom line this from my perspective. I don't want to be playing Arizona right now. They're in a little bit of a free fall. But with that said, they're the better team here. I can find a 129, a minus 132. I like Arizona tonight.
The interesting thing on the Diamondbacks is every time they dip and get back to 500, that's when they get hot again. So they're a resilient bunch. I don't think they're a particularly good team, but they fight hard. I don't know what fight will be left in the Giants coming out of that series with the Dodgers where they really fought hard in that series, but weren't able to get wins. And looked like they kind of left it on the field last night, 9-8. And they hit 2 hard line drives. Although these freaking managers with their bunting. I mean, why would you? They had a failed sacrifice. It's a 9-8 ball game. Okay, you got 2 guys on, and he bunts. That didn't work. 1 out. Next 2 guys lined out, and that's it. The game ends. Maybe it is time for Bochy to retire. Samardzija's not a guy I basically will ever bet on. He's a terrible starting pitcher. Once in a while, he'll throw a good game out there, but he's more down than up. Giants bullpen got kind of used up in that series with the Dodgers. The Diamondbacks bullpen is just not very good, and neither is the starting pitcher. I think you might get some runs here. It's kind of a high total, 10. Yeah, and Arizona's not a great ballpark to hit in when the roof is closed because of the humidor effect. But if I had to play this, I think I might tilt toward the over somewhat. I don't think it's going to be on my card.
Bryan, what do you like?
Jeff Samardzija, 2 years ago, 2017, 205 strikeouts, 32 walks, basically a 6.5 to 7 strikeout to walk ratio. Last year, 30 strikeouts, 26 walks. This year, 61 strikeouts, 23 walks. Not nearly the pitcher he was then. Keep in mind, in 2017, 4.42 ERA, even though he had basically a 7-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. That tells you if you can touch the ball against the margin, you can put it wherever you want. And now he's not dominant in the strikeouts anymore, below league average. I prefer the Arizona side here, although Taylor Clark is not overly impressive. His last 7 starts with 44 game score, which isn't very good, especially in that division. So I would look for the higher score, as you pointed out, but I like Arizona in this contest.
Bryan Leonard with us, Dave Cokin, my regular co-host. Last show of the week. Dave, you said there's something going on in Tampa Bay. Stay off them right now. They lost again last night. That's 4 in a row. That's 5 out of what?
And this was a bad loss because they blew a 9th-inning lead.
Yeah, and I liked Tampa Bay yesterday. But Oakland's rolling right now. I mean, look, they swept Baltimore. Who hasn't? 4 in a row for the A's. It's a pick'em game, pretty much. Oakland minus 104 to 108. Tampa Bay minus 114-ish. The over and under is 9. I don't know what to do right now. I'm just going to stay away from any Tampa Bay game for the moment.
I'm considering the Rays here. I think this is cheap. There's been some money on Tampa, which is so they're now a small favorite. The opener was Oakland minus 114. I'm not big on Tanner Anderson. I don't think he's a great prospect for Oakland. I don't see him as a long-term starting pitcher in the majors. Kittredge will make the start for Tampa, and it's not going to be as an opener. From what I can gather, he's going to go out there and they're going to try and get five or six innings out of him. It's just to be a value play, and you have to factor the current form. In fact, I probably won't, because that's a bad loss. Look, they swept the Yankee Stadium, and they got a 4-1 lead in the 9th inning and blow it. So the bullpen was a little short-handed right now because Alvarado's not available. They're just not a team I want to side with right now. So what you're seeing is the numbers guys are coming in and they're playing Tampa because the numbers say you're supposed to play Tampa here. So I don't disagree with that. I won't go against it. But I just don't like their form enough to be on them here. So I think I'm going to leave it alone.
Brian, what do you like in this game?
Tampa over the years has been one of those teams that finds a way to win. They get the 1-run games. They don't blow anybody out. They just find a way to win. This year they haven't. The extra innings, 2 and 4, 1-run games, 5 and 10. So they've got a nice record of 43 and 32, but it could be a lot better. And Dave pointed Alvarado's out, but the back end of this bullpen's not a bad back end. They've got some guys that are much better pitchers than what they've shown so far. So, Tampa's fading right now. A lot of people are looking for the Yankees. The Yankees playing great. If you're one of those guys that wants to take a long shot at somebody to make it to the World Series or whatever, you may find some value on Tampa at this point because they're probably not going to win the division. I think the Yankees got the best talent. But if they make it to the playoffs, they find ways to win, and they haven't this year. But in this game right here, I'm probably going to pass, but I may take a look at futures, see what I can get out of Tampa.
Two real bad teams playing each other. Baltimore 21 and 54. Wow, 6 games worse than the Blue Jays, and they're a disaster. Seattle 33 and 46. 71% of the tickets being written today so far are on Seattle.
There basically are no tickets. There's no line.
Okay, so I have a line. There was a line.
Well, I'm going with widely available, which there is no widely available line on this game because Baltimore has not announced their pitcher.
Okay, so let's.
Really matter.
This is why it's important to have a line screen in front of you, not just one shot.
I do have a line screen in front of me, but it's okay. Do you want to say anything about this game?
There's nothing much to say. I don't know who's pitching in Baltimore. It's Means' turn, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
It's some guy with the nickname N.A.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's not Kevin Na, the golfer. So,
Dave, it doesn't matter who's the pitching matchup in this one because it's sort of like a drummer. It's bum bum.
Okay, da-dum.
Two bums pitching in this game is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. 2 games left to go before we get into it. I just want to point out yesterday, Bryan, I'm glad you made yourself laugh.
Thank you.
Yesterday,
I made myself laugh.
Yesterday, I pushed Buster Sports Canadian football play. It started the season 3-0. I told you guys to get on it. It was Saskatchewan. It was a winner. Buster is now 4-0 in Canadian football.
Nice.
Dave Cokin's going to have a Canadian football play as well, I think, this weekend.
I actually have changed my mind. I did like Hamilton, but the line's gotten a 3.5. I know 3 is not a key number in the CFL like it is in the NFL, but you got a game that's going from -2 to -3.5. And I talk all the time about getting value. And you can't lay 3.5 if the line was 2. And the 2 was available. I just didn't jump on it. So I am not going to play that game. I also actually don't really know what to expect from Toronto at this point. The only thing I know is that there won't be a lot of people at the game because there never are. And their home field advantage is not very good. And that's something to factor into Argonauts games. They're more of a go-against team at home because they just don't have the backing of the crowd.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave. I mean, I'm a huge sports fan. I live in Toronto, and I've been to 1 Orgo game in my entire life. I couldn't tell you the name of an Orgo. Like, nobody. I don't know a thing about that team. I'm just waiting for Buffalo to move over already.
The problem is, as I see it, is that while we like Canadian Football League and it's fun to watch, it's still a minor league. Minor league teams in major league towns
doesn't work.
And it's not a great recipe for success. And Toronto is a major league town. They have a major league baseball team. They have a major league hockey team.
And the NBA champs, baby.
Yes, right.
I want
to. So, the Argonauts are kind of who? They're kind of like, now that Las Vegas has become a major league sports city, they're kind of like a minor league soccer team out here. They'll have their following, but it's probably not going to be real good.
I wanted to touch on that. I grew up in Cleveland, was a Cleveland fan my entire life. When one of our teams did well, it brought up the entire city. So if the Browns were playing well, you would support the other teams in the city. With Toronto winning the NBA championship, is it going to bring any kind of support to this football team?
Absolutely not.
No.
Bryan, I'll bottom line this. We're not only a major league city. We're the 3rd largest city in North America. But not only that, not only do we have 7 million people in the greater Toronto area, but if you go a circumference of, say, a 4-hour drive, we are the largest city in North America. We're talking we're talking close to half the population of Canada within a 4-hour drive of Toronto. We had close to 2 million people show up for the Raptor Parade. There are a very few amount of cities in America with 2 million people in it.
I saw an interesting stat. I found this to be fascinating. The parade drew 8% of the Canadian population. The entire country's population, 8%.
Yeah, well, Dave, it was
parade.
Dave, it was like 2 out of 10 people in Toronto type numbers.
Yeah. But so the Argonauts kind of probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah, but they can't move them because of the TV rights, right? No, the TV's just going to drop the CFL without a team in Toronto.
No, they can. I don't know. And they've got a team in Ottawa already.
Yeah, they should move them to Halifax, move the Bills to Toronto, and everyone will be happy.
There you go.
The Rockies, 40-34 against the Dodgers, 51-25. The Dodgers are minus 200-ish. The over and under in this game is 7. Dave, I'll go to you first. Colorado just swept Arizona.
Yeah.
I think they're live, man. Like, I don't want to play against the Dodgers. I get that, but I'm getting a lot of money on a team that's super hot and has been consistently hot for the last few weeks, if not month. I think they are a live dog tonight.
And on price, I agree with you. Where I don't like this is that Marquez is having some mechanical issues right now. And they're obvious, okay? It's not like I'm not trying to sit here and pretend I'm a pitching guru. But if I can see the problem, then obviously there's a problem. And he is completely overthrowing his fastball right now. You can see his release point is not consistent. He's kind of just he'll get it together because he's a really good pitcher. But this is not the time to be playing on Marquez. And therefore, I won't. I'm not going to play the Dodgers at this price. Even
Bueller's the total opposite. I mean, Bueller's line
looking great. He is
unbelievable.
He yeah, but it's also $1.85, $1.90. That's a big price delay, and it's gotten to the point where it's just too big. I mean, if this were if it was $1.70, I might say, okay, well, considering the two pitching, the form curve of the two pitchers, all right. But 190, I don't know. I can't do that. But I can tell you that Marquez is not Marquez right now.
Bryan, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, he talks about Marquez. His last 7 starts, 5 of them have been below league average. 25 last time against San Diego. Bueller's been dynamite against Colorado. His last 5 starts, a 65 game score. He's just been terrific. Trevor Story got hurt again yesterday. He's one of the best bats in the Colorado lineup. He's not going to be in there this year or this game. And you got a Dodgers team 31-9 at home. When you're winning over 75% of your home games, that's pretty damn impressive. I don't care who you are. I see why the Dodgers are highly favored here. Don't know if I'll lay that number, but it'd be Dodgers or nothing for me.
He's Bryan. I'm the Prez. Dave Cokin, my regular co-host, and the show and the week is over. I'm going golfing. Then I'm off to a cottage. And Dave, I'll see you on Monday. You guys have an incredible weekend. Enjoy the amazing weather and enjoy watching baseball because I know that's pretty much what both of you guys do all day.
We're no lives.
Yeah. Your life is watching baseball. That doesn't mean it's not no life.
All right.
Okay, boys, be good. Take care of yourself.
All right, take care, man.